I wanted to ask if you think maybe you're a victim of your own success, in the sense that other parties compete with each other to try and either be or seem more green, and that perhaps squeezes you.
Well, we've certainly been setting the agenda. We've been framing this election very much as the climate election. There has been a refrain where Greens lead, others follow. But our platform is very different from the other parties. We don't think any of the other targets are measuring up in terms of meeting the climate emergency and the action that we need to take in the time frame that we have. And of course, our offer on remaining in the European Union as well, with the people's vote, but also campaigning to remain, is very distinctive from Labour, who aren't a Remain party.
Yeah, let me ask you about the Labour Party. They're not a Remain party, you say, and so they're not part of this alliance of parties, the Alliance for Remain grouping, which has done a deal to stand down in certain seats, and I know that you have done so. But some of your candidates have decided to stand down to allow the Labour Party to do better in certain seats to prevent Tories getting in those seats. Are you OK with that happening? Are you OK with your potential MPs deciding to do that?
Well, we are a democratic party, and these decisions are made at the local level. So they are something that is done democratically, and they have made that call in their specific local area, their best place to make those calls. But we're fielding more candidates, many more candidates than we did in 2017, 500 candidates around the UK, and it's true. In a small number of seats, we've also come to an arrangement with the Liberal Democrats. We're very different to the Lib Dems in a lot of areas, but we share the same goal of remaining in the European Union. And so in those seats, we think we've got a real good chance of getting more Green representation in Parliament, and that will make a huge difference, particularly if we do have a hung Parliament after the election, as many people are predicting.
Yeah, let me ask you about what would happen in that circumstance then, Jonathan. Of course, the Labour Party not part of that Unite to Remain grouping. Would you be part of a grouping that would put Jeremy Corbyn in number 10?
Well, we'd have certain red lines, and so we're not giving anyone a free pass. The climate emergency would have to be top of any government's agenda. Reform of the voting system too. We know that the key to securing our future is actually a shift of power, and that starts in Westminster, but also power down to local authorities, unleashing the potential from the bottom up as part of our Green New Deal. We want to see significant investment in public services. I think the austerity consensus is well and truly broken, and we want to make sure that we're pushing back the tide of austerity too. And of course, a commitment to remaining in the European Union is absolutely fundamental to dealing with the climate emergency, working with our partners and neighbours, but also securing our environmental protections here in our own country.
We spoke to Jo Swinson yesterday, and the Liberal Democrat leader, she said that she doesn't think Jeremy Corbyn is fit to lead the country. Do you agree or disagree with her?
We are where we are. It isn't a great option, is it, between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn? But the reality is, I think one of those parties are going to be having a significant block of MPs in the House of Commons, and we're going to have to put aside tribalism. On the continent, parties do work together. They negotiate. They find a way forward, and they often do some great good by working together where there's common ground. And we'd be looking for common ground with all the parties. We are the least tribal of any party. We think it's too important, the climate emergency, to be bickering and fighting in the way that we've seen over the last 3 years. So we'll be looking to try and build consensus and move forward together and get that transformation of the economy, improve people's lifestyles, improve people's living standards with measures like a universal basic income to give everyone the security to start up a business, to care for a sick relative, whatever it might be, as we move and transition to the low carbon economy, which we also think should be able to cut the cost of living, decent public transport that cuts fares, rapid home insulation programs that will cut energy bills.
OK, so Jonathan, it does sound as if you would support Jeremy Corbyn in number 10. Would that be in a coalition or confidence and supply?
We've said that we wouldn't go into coalition. We'd much prefer a confidence and supply arrangement if the terms were right on a case-by-case basis. We feel that that's a more effective way of holding a government's feet to the fire and making sure that they do take the urgent action. We've managed to shift Labour significantly in a number of areas over the last few years, and we want to continue doing that in the event of a Labour minority government.
You've got 7 MEPs, Jonathan, but only 1 MP. Of course, you've talked about the voting system and how that would be one of your red lines for supporting Jeremy Corbyn, it would seem. How do you turn, what's your strategy, though, this time for turning that 7 MEPs into more than 1 MP?
Well, as you say, in the European elections, we more than doubled our number of MEPs. We got 2 million votes, and we came first and second in seats right around the country. And particularly where the Lib Dems have stood aside for us in around 10 seats, we want to be able to be making gains in a significant proportion of those seats. It's a very hard election to predict. A lot of those seats will be determined on local factors, but in particularly Remain supporting areas of the country, there's a huge groundswell of support. There's a big surge in support for Remain parties like ourselves, and so we'd be wanting to see a significant green bloc in the next Parliament that can deliver what needs to be delivered at this important time for the country.